and I'll take it back to uh, remember. I don't remember the year, but it was a Spurs game, and I'm walking out on court during a timeout to perform a skit that I had written. Uh, oh, I'm walking out on court on stilts, 48-inch stilts. So my feet are 4 feet above the ground, so I'm at about 10 feet. My head is. I'm walking out of the center court. We've all been there 100 times. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Right? No, no one's walked out on a court on so. Oh, okay. Well, then let me explain. I'm walking out on court on these stilts to do this skit that I had done, which was um, a fake world record that I was going to be breaking, which is jump roping on stilts as a mascot. So the PA announcer lets the crowd know I'm attempting this world record. I bring out this extra long jump rope that I just sort of handmade out of rope. And he says, the coyote's going to break the world record. It's currently at 10 jumps. Let's see if we can do it. Everybody count with me. Go. Right. So 1, 2, 3. You get where I'm going with this, right? 10, 11, 12. I break the world record, guys. It's amazing. So the crowd starts cheering. I throw the jump rope. I just broke the world record. And my hands are in the air, cheering. Everybody's happy. And I'm walking off the court. And I end this skit by fake falling, right? So I thought this is funny. He can jump rope. He breaks the world record. The guy can't walk. Um, Pretty funny. However, that's not something you're going to practice. You just are going to fall on stilts. So I do my little fake fall, but had never fallen from 4 feet up and got a little more momentum than I thought. Coming in a little fast. My hands are up, and I sort of turned, and this shoulder just went behind my head and dislocated my shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah, bummers. But this shoulder got when I did it, of course, I just think, oh, I just hurt my shoulder, right? I've just hurt myself all my life. I one time as Coyote, I'm through shooting a behind the back shot from 3/4 court, so like the other free throw line, if you will. And to take that shot, it took every bit of energy I had, every ounce of strike to get it that distance, especially with the pause and the yada. It was just a hard shot. Um, which by the way, oddly, I could make that shot. So I take the shot one time. The story is I sublux my shoulder, which is like it came out and right back in. Um, to the point that now the bone that goes into the socket, my arm bone, has a dent because it didn't quite come in right. It hit the shoulder bone, and now in the X-ray it has a little dent, and it'll pop. So cool, fun party trick. Um, or there's the time that I herniated my disc in my back, but I'm water skiing at SeaWorld and fall on a jump. I herniated a disc, and I just think I herniated a disc. It's just what happens when you're active. I never in a million years imagined that I had arthritis. I just thought I'm prone to injury, right? I'm super active and I'm prone to injury. Well, back to the story, just to let you guys know. After all of this and after my retirement, I one day look it up, and shooting a basketball behind your back from that distance, I think it was like 78 feet, was a world record. But I never called Guinness and now the record's been broken. Somebody did farther. So I thought maybe one day I go back. But yeah, anyway, funny little weird story that I didn't even think about till I started talking about all this, but that was actually a world record. And I think jump roping on stilts, there is a number that is an actual world record, but I don't think I'm going to go for it. But I'm sure if I asked each person here today to tell their story, we would all be the same, right? We're all never thought, you're having problems. John and I were talking before this, like hey, he just had back problems, right? He was having back pain. Never imagined that was arthritis, that was ankylosing spondylitis is what I have, right? So never imagined. And I was once I was diagnosed, I was 40, 41. Once I was diagnosed at 41 years old, the Spurs team doctor, who had been my doctor through my 20-year career at the Spurs, when I go to see him and I tell him, hey, guess what? Right? I have ankylosing spondylitis. I've just been diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. You could see it, his eyes immediately. It made sense. Like the puzzle was finally put together for him because he had been with me for all these injuries over all these years and never had he thought about ankylosing spondylitis. Because you just don't. Thus, the problem of getting diagnosed with this disease. You just don't think of it, right? So, exactly what Jen was speaking to, that it's just so often misdiagnosed. And I just been injured so many times and never correctly diagnosed. And ironically, I got an iritis and gone to see my optometrist. And that's how I got diagnosed. The guy said, hey, I think you should take a blood test. So, so ironic, of how that happened. And like I said, I'm sure everybody here has that same type of story. Um, but I can tell you, when he told me I had, ankylosing spondylitis, and when I went back, I realized I remember being 16 years old and pulling my hamstring playing soccer and was like, man, my hips are just tight. I was a runner, a soccer, my hips are just tight and I couldn't get them straight. Always have been like, why can't I stretch my hips? Um, so I was having those problems at 16 and not diagnosed till 42. Um, so I can talk more about that journey, but what I really wanted to hone in on a little bit before I want everybody to go off mute and we have a conversation is when I was diagnosed, it it rocked my world like nothing else ever had. I had I always had seen myself as a strong athlete who just got injured. That's an easy story. But it's not so easy to tell that story when you're told you have a chronic illness and all of a sudden the connotation is very different to this strong athlete who's injured versus this, weak kid guy who is just ill. And and so it took me a while to rectify that in my brain and to get to a place where I wasn't just straight up feeling sorry for myself. Um, and it took me a while to try and figure out what the rest of my life was going to be like. Because of obviously initially you get on the internet and you read and you're like, oh my God, like this is horrific. The quality of life just, you just read all the worst stories. Um, and it took me a long time to process that, uh, to get through the ebb and flow of feeling sorry for myself and what am I going to do. Um, and then really to put my life back together and come up with a game plan for my life. But in all that space, I determined that I just was not going to let this knock me out. Um, so I pivoted. I, by the way, my rheumatologist, the first rheumatologist I went to see right when I was diagnosed, immediately said, you have to quit your job, which I was like, wait, this is my career. It's not just like a job, right? Like, I just can't. So there were some things like that. Like, I kept working for a couple more years and I quit when I was ready to quit. Um, I, uh, I ended up giving a TED talk. So that's on YouTube if you are like sitting around for 10 minutes and got nothing better to do. Um, but I ended up doing a TED Talk. That TED Talk led to uh, a speaking career in which I still give keynote speaking speeches. But really, it was as much as anything, it was an opportunity to uh, to speak for those I felt like what I would assume and would love to hear from everybody here, but is such a lonely course in this illness, right? It's so hard. I would tell you, um, my wife doesn't understand what I go through on a daily basis, right? She just doesn't, and it's how can she? And I don't fault her for it, but it's just a lonely place to be in. And again, John and I were talking before this, and I was speaking to the fact that just nobody here in I don't speak to anybody else who has ankylosing spondylitis on a regular basis. I'm in it on my by myself, right? And I'm daily dealing with it on my own, and I'm dealing with the ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows and the pain and the good days and the bad days, for the most part on my own. And that's tough to do. This isn't a disease that there's this, uh, huge walk for that brings millions of dollars and everybody knows about it and consoles you, or sees it on the outside of you. It's such a, and we all know this. I'm not saying anything that none of us don't already know. I just want you to know that I understand, I'm there, we're all in this together. And that's why I want us all to speak about it, because no one really knows until you know what it's like. But oh, I was also going to say this is ironic, but 1 year ago today, so April 1st, 2024, I sort of took my keynote speech and I built it up and I put it, but I published a book. So not asking you to buy it, but just sort of fun little thing is I published a book about not about exactly 1 year ago today, which is April 1st. So that's sort of a mascot bit, right? And you got to publish a book on April Fool's Day. Um, but published a book 1 year ago, and it's called Philosophy. So for what I speak about is sort of more life lessons I learned from wearing fur for a living. So sort of just those things when you're in a costume, that this duplicity of a life, this surreal life you live by being in a costume and experiencing the best and the worst of people on a daily basis, both rich and poor. And so that's sort of what it's a funny story, sort of what I learned from it, and then what we all can take from that in our regular daily lives. Um, but back to us, I really feel like I want to take the rest of our time, to the 40 or so minutes to really have a conversation. And I'm curious what brought you guys here and what you're going through. And because I think we're probably all going through it and could all speak to that and help each other out. So I don't know how you wanted to do this, John and Jen, to open it up.